Guest today is none other than the 14th commissioner of the Canadian Football League. He has been a busy man, probably never busier than right now, but let's find out from the man himself. Randy Ambrosie, the commissioner of the CFL, joins me now on the A block here in Canadian Football Perspective. Randy, thank you for giving me the time. I feel like I should start by asking you, how are things? But you have to be exhausted. There is so much going on right now. What is going on? What are you dealing with?
Well, it's been a long 12 months, but Marshall, to be honest, I think it's been a long 12 months for all Canadians. And I just remind myself every day there's a lot of families across our country, and there's a lot of stress, and a lot of people have worked really hard, to keep the system moving. So I don't think there's a good reason for me to feel sorry for myself, I guess, is the point I'm trying to make. And just trying to be a good Canadian as we look forward. What are we working on? Everything. It's these past many months have given us an opportunity to really look at how we reset our business. Frankly, we've been scouring the globe for ideas, talking to other leagues about what they're working on, where are they going, what lessons have they learned. A lot of work being done on our financial modeling, a lot of work being done on, potential operating efficiencies. Marshall, it's been a quest to search for the next best version of ourselves as we work our way through what has been a very difficult time.
Yeah, absolutely. And hearing you say that reminds me of when I would ask Jack Armstrong, of course, the Raptors color commentary, where it'd say, "Hey, you're in Los Angeles tonight. You're going to Utah tomorrow. Then you're up in Portland." He goes, "Listen, I love what I do. It might be busy, it might be hectic, but I still get an opportunity to do something I love every day." When you mention the business model that you are working on, I saw a headline from you that said, "We've probably done more in the past year on our business model than's been done in the past." I don't know if you said 5 years, 10 years, 20 years, but I can only imagine that when you are really tearing down, and it's strange because you're not used to being given the breathing room in a calendar year to actually push back from the table and look at things. What have you learned about the Canadian Football League and the business model as you have pushed back and had that time to reassess?
Yeah, I think you're right. I there's an expression that goes something like this: that you're so busy working in the business that you forget to work on it. And I think this has been a chance for us to really work on our business. So, we put together a large group that were prepared to roll up their sleeves and look at kind of every element of our operation, and really look for opportunities for us to be more efficient. And we found them. We found lots of places where, we had 10 of something. Each team had it, and we had it, and the question then was, do we need 10 of those? Can we do with one of those, or maybe 5 of those, or some other number? Marshall, basically, we just took a whiteboard out and deconstructed the business, looking for opportunities to have a better, bigger, stronger CFL. And then beyond that, you have to look at what's going on around the world of sports. Sports has been hammered because we can't get fans into the stands, and really asking those other leagues and other organizations, what are you doing? What can we learn from you so that we can make our business better?
Yeah, and it's interesting to hear you talk about scouring the globe to try and find some solutions as well, because there are so many different approaches, right? And I'm sure you've found that throughout your conversations. I do want to focus for a second on CFL 2.0 because I'll be honest, Commissioner, I am frustrated every single time I see online someone say, and I might have said this to you previously in a different interview, but where it's, well, focus on home because we don't need to be looking elsewhere to try and find our solutions. When my opinion has always been, and I believe yours based on some of the comments that you've made, that you can find solutions domestically by finding solutions internationally. These the two things can be interwoven with each other, with the great game of Canadian football being shared with people beyond our borders in order to help things internally. What is the state of CFL 2.0 right now for you? I saw that the Global Combine is going to move forward, I believe, in Italy coming up shortly here. And I'm looking at the big picture here and where you see it, the development of that system, because I believe there was so much momentum going into the 2020 season to get the global draft off of the ground, to get players into training camps, to expand it beyond the relationship you already had with the League of Football Americano in Mexico.
Yeah, well, Marshall, I go back to where we started. The truth is, if you go back to hockey, 1972, Canada didn't need to play the Soviets. Canada and Canadians were playing a pretty good brand of hockey in the NHL. But I believe the 1972 Summit Series changed hockey forever, and it created a global appetite for hockey, and it created a platform for Canadian hockey players to be stars, not just domestically but internationally. And I think we've needed to, and frankly, I think it's important that we have that kind of bigger, bolder vision for football in this country, because I don't think we're anywhere close to being as big and strong as we are. So that's number one. Number two is it's one thing that businesses love, and we don't have enough of, is scale. And it's hard to run an efficient business when you're not operating at scale. And that was a chance for some scale. So where are we? Again, the pandemic has given us a chance to sit back and reflect. Like, I want all 9 of our teams to be excited about the global opportunity. I want our fans to be excited. So, we've been spending time thinking about it. We've been thinking about, how did we get started? Where are we today? What can we do differently? We know that during the January, February period, we saw a lot of kids around the world that could very well come here and be stars. We thought, well, boy, that could open up the doors to a real kind of boom in fandom around the world, long-term revenue opportunities that could make us stronger. So we have, we're in the beginning of the beginning. We've got a long road ahead of us if we want to see this opportunity come to fruition. So today we're just taking the time to think about every element of 2.0 and how might we make it better and stronger.
Do you ever get frustrated by the criticism of 2.0 when you say we're in the beginning of the beginning? People have to understand that it's in the infancy stages and it has the ability to grow exponentially, but people want to jump on the infancy stages and say, look, it's a failure. And I've never really understood that.
Well, look, anytime you want to lead anything in a new direction, you're going to face some opposition. And if you can't bear up to that, then you better get out of the way and let somebody else do the job. So,
Right.
I didn't sign up to do this because I thought it was going to be easy. I have a great passion for football. As you know, I have a great passion for growing the game here. And frankly, my mind is wide open to any and all opportunities to make the game of football stronger, because I'll just go down to the basics. I think this is the greatest game in the world, the game of football. Gridiron football is the greatest team sport in the world. I think more kids need to play football because the game teaches so many lessons. There's no more inclusive game on the planet than football, because you get a kid, look at Hamilton. You get Speedy B, who I think is about $160,
Yep.
soaking wet. And he goes into the locker room every day with a couple of guys that'll tip the scales at 330 pounds. And here's what's cool. Both of those athletes sitting side by side next to each other in a locker are all stars. That is evidence of a game where everyone belongs. And that's one of the many reasons why I love it so much.
And they have that mutual dependency on each other as well, right? If you get Chris Van Zyl doing his thing at a high level, that's great. But if Speedy B's not going, it's not going to be the same, and vice versa. So it is certainly special in that way. What are the differences as we lead into, I think for me, March 11th is the day that the pandemic became real for many people, whether it be Rudy Gobert, the shutdown of the NBA, the NHL going, whoa, let's pump the brakes for a second here. That date will always stick in my mind as the day that sports changed. And I remember as well the CFL being at an the Ontario Regional Combine, I believe, and everything kind of pressing pause and saying, we're sorry, guys, but we can't be doing this. We have to make an executive decision here on the fly. What are the differences of 2020 on, let's say, March 11th to 2021 when we get to March 11th coming up here in a couple of weeks?
Yeah, well, there's a lot of differences, and of course, some things that are the same. We're still obviously needing to be careful. We needed to be careful on March 11th in 2020, and we need to do that today. We need to look after each other. We need to care about our neighbors. Those things haven't changed, but obviously the vaccines have changed a lot. and the opportunity that's in front of us now to get everyone vaccinated. And of course, we hang on every word, whether it's the premier's that's speaking or the prime minister speaking, we hang on every word for how we're going to accelerate the ability for Canadians to get vaccinated. And of course, that just creates that light at the end of the tunnel that we can all feel that, we'll be good Canadians. We'll wait in line and we'll get our shots. We'll get our shots when we get our shots. But we now know that there's reason to believe that the crisis is going to pass. We'll have learned a lot. We'll have suffered a lot, but the crisis is going to come to an end.
What is the frequency that you are getting up there? Are you like me, where I'm turning on the National on CBC at 10 p.m. and I'm seeing what's happening with the vaccines, or I'm opening up Twitter and finding out, or are you getting frequent updates that is constantly changing your plan of attack here?
Well, we're getting a lot of updates from a lot of sources, and as you know, the problem is not all those updates are completely congruent, right? They're often getting different signals and different information. And then when you ask somebody, we talk to a lot of amazing people in the healthcare space, and you ask them to give an opinion, and they're hesitant because there's still some unknown variables that they can't properly predict. But again, I'm looking at it more from the big picture perspective. I obviously can't predict exactly when my wife and I and our children are going to get vaccinated, but I know we will. I know that our focus is on getting back on the field in 2021, and we're doing everything we can to stick with our plan. Hey, we got a schedule getting ready to launch on June the 20th, or June the 10th, I should say. But we also know that we're going to have to be willing and able to adapt as the situation requires. So, you know what, Marshall, they say hope springs eternal. So that's that's the order of the day.
Absolutely. I want to ask here, because I think we all know what the worst case scenario is. We just lived it for a 2020 CFL season. What is the best case scenario for Randy Ambrosie as the commissioner of the CFL in 2021? What is you wake up, you have a beautiful dream at night, you say, oh, I had this vision, and here's what 2021 was like, and you wish that would come true?
Yeah, I think it's a few things. One is I would like nothing more than to be standing on a large podium at Tim Hortons Field in November, awarding the Grey Cup to the 2021 Grey Cup champion. I think that moment in front of a full stadium of fans, I think that moment will reflect on an opportunity for what the Grey Cup has been, a truly national celebration. This will be a bit of a coming out from under the pandemic celebration. I think it'd be a tremendous so in my mind's eye, as I think about what would define success for 2021, that's the thing that I take my mind to most often. And then a lot of things, Marshall, about things we've already spoken of, is how do we use the disruption to help us take this game in Canada to the next level? What will we have learned that will help us? What relationship will we have made along the way that will help us? What opportunities will this open? Because businesses and I talk to business leaders from all industries. They're all looking for ways to re-engineer themselves as a result of the COVID crisis. And of course, when they ask me, I say, we're doing the same thing. We're looking for new opportunities because this has knocked us down. And what football players know is when you get knocked down, you get back up.
Yeah, absolutely. I got a question in here from Wally Walker, a listener of our podcast, Randy, who says, one point that I haven't heard the commissioner talk about thus far is the November 21st date for the Grey Cup in 2021 in Hamilton that you just spoke about. Is that set in stone if some sort of season is played and Hamilton keeps the Grey Cup as scheduled? Is that something that has to be malleable for you right now, just like everything else, or are you trying to hit an end date there in November in Hamilton?
Right now we haven't changed the date, but we are in, constant contact with Scott Mitchell and Matt Affleck in Hamilton, talking about the Grey Cup. Obviously, that's something they've worked really hard at. It's been a long wait for Hamiltonians to bring the Grey Cup back, and of course to bring it back into Tim Hortons Field would be amazing. Right now, again, it's like everything else. We've got a schedule that starts on June 10th and ends on November 21st in Hamilton. And that's our plan. But again, we're mindful that we're gonna have to be flexible and adaptable as situations may require. But right now, I hope to be, as I say, on the podium in Hamilton, November 21st, awarding the Grey Cup to the 2021 champion.
It's a beautiful image. I hope that we get an opportunity to see you up there as well. Last one I got for you today, Ray, a bit of a bigger picture question, but I've been fascinated by this, I would say, since about the start of the NBA bubble and maybe the NHL bubble as well in Edmonton and Toronto, which is the idea of leadership in a pandemic, taking away the Canadian Football League and your job and your role. The idea of being a leader in a pandemic is fascinating to me because it's unprecedented and you are throwing a curveball every day, every other day, every week, every month. It changes, it evolves, it's different. New challenges pop up. Some challenges fade away, but they change over time. And I saw a quote from you in August of 2020 last year that said, "I do feel responsible, Randy Ambrosie, on the CFL season's demise." I don't know why you would put that on yourself, but I would also say that I have looked around at other leaders, whether it be Adam Silver, Commissioner Gary Bettman in the National Hockey League, elsewhere, and they get blamed for essentially the fact that, well, the season wasn't normal, or the setup in the bubble for the NBA wasn't normal, or the NHL ended up crowning somebody that maybe wouldn't have won in the first place if they played a regular. There's a lot of things that go into this where sport and leadership are intersecting. And I just wanted your thoughts on being a leader in general during a pandemic, during an unprecedented time, and the challenges that come with that, because I feel like there is no way to have the right or the perfect answer during all of this.
Yeah, well, look, there's going to be books and books and books written on this issue for, decades to come, I believe. The things that we all learned, the things we experienced, obviously the most obvious reality is that we were facing challenges that were completely unknown to us. Staring into the abyss of not knowing with any certainty what the next month or two or three would look like. And so as a result, it made decision making very, very difficult. I just go back to what I think, how I think about leadership myself, and all the people I've watched over the years that have served as great leaders, and I've experienced their leadership. There's always been a very large element of responsibility that you watched them operate and you knew that they felt responsible because they behaved like that. And that responsibility can't just be when things go well and you're accepting accolades. You have to be willing to accept the things that don't go well and the criticism that goes with it. I don't think it's I never went into I certainly didn't go into the pandemic thinking I had all the answers, and I was certainly surrounded by a lot of people that I shared the burden with, and they were great. But in the end, when it boiled down to, I have a job to do to lead this Canadian Football League, which I'm so honored to have. And I wanted to do it in a way that represented my responsibility for our, for what was in our best interests.
Randy, it is always a pleasure to be able to catch up with you. Thank you for the opportunity. Thank you for the time, and looking forward to chatting with you, hopefully with brighter announcements just around the corner.
Marshall, great to see you, and best wishes, and stay safe.